Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Hi. I signed into the wrong one.
Oh, did you? Well, for some reason that was deleted off of mine. So,
Oh,
we'll see
strange.
how this is all going. Yeah, I didn't notice if it said it was, yeah, it's recording for us. So just give a few minutes and then we'll break into it. So the first one that we did, we had 31 views on the YouTube. So that's great. And then
That's awesome.
which we did like last week or something. I've really got to push it out there a little bit. We had 3 views on that, so that was kind of exciting. It really
Awesome.
exciting.
Well, yours and I haven't watched yours and Chris's yet, but yours and Shameen's was awesome.
It was a good. It was kind of good. And most important is just getting this information out to people
Yeah.
and really benefit from this, Raquel. So
Yes, ma'am. That's why I'm here.
I know it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, so give a few minutes here. It's a 9:58, so we got a couple minutes.
Forgive me in advance. I've been losing my voice all week because apparently by Tuesday I've been talking too much. So I've got my water with me and
There
my
you
little
go.
Star Wars cup.
I know you should see me here. I have Gatorade. I have
Nice.
coffee that I finished, and I have water in this cup. It's just allergies this year has just been,
Yes. They've been kicking my butt.
yeah, it's just binged me totally. So I'm just fighting it and coughing and coughing.
Yes.
So excited about this Zoom call, Raquel, because we need help in that area, whether we're doing car insurance, whether we're trying to work on credit card balances, whether we're paying off things on time. I mean, these are the things that I've even said to some of my clients and just wrap my arms around them that maybe didn't qualify for a house. And we don't want to get them, I call it house poor, you know,
Right.
it's standing above that and doing the right thing for that particular client. And you've seen it, what you've had to do for, with them. So
Every day.
10 o'clock we'll be kicking it off. Credit is quite a tricky subject. And if we have you to help us through that, I know EXP uses somebody like in the Dallas area, I want to say, Raquel, but I think it's nice to have a couple of different resources for us to go to for sure.
Definitely. I always say this, it's not like we got that class in high school or we sat around the dinner with our parents and talked about credit. Like nobody knows. There's so
When I
many
was
mysteries and stereotypes.
when I was growing up, when my parents would start talking about money stuff, they would say, "You can leave the room now. Your ears are flapping." And I'd be like, "Okay." So I was a little kid bopping around. I didn't understand about any of it. So when you first get married, you think you get your credit card and you're like, "Yay, I got money."
Right. I'm doing great.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Look at all my material things I'm getting, you know?
Well,
So
now it's gotten so bad too. Like the major conglomerates out there, like you'll see Capital One and Credit One at the college campuses when they're just waiting like predators. Like it's awful.
one of the things that I really, really am dead set against when my son was going to Texas State, um, they had all these credit card places in the lobby while we were doing orientation. And I was like, what? Why are these here? They have no
Yeah.
business selling to a college student that, you know, that's when their parents are taking care of it all. So let's just start off. I just want to say that this particular Zoom is called Community Connect. Thank you for joining with us, Community Connect. We're going to do it like 2 times a month. Various subject matter from home buying, maintenance of your home, decorating tips. We're going to continue this. I want to see how this year goes for 2022. We're just going to have conversations where you can still work at home. This is the new norm pretty much. I know we're inundated with Zoom calls, but again, this is probably the way that probably the most efficient way that we can get so much out there. I can't really place it on Raquel's ACE Credit Consulting. I can't really do it on EXP, so I do it on Yvonne Rose's. So as we're going through, I'll send you the link when we're done, request the link or whatever, but I'm just kind of working on that YouTube so we can kind of flood it and work with people in the community. That's what it's all about, community connect. If you miss it, you'll find it on YouTube. Without, letting you know, of course, I got a bug there. My name is Yvonne Rosas. I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Texas. We're brokered by EXP with 83 agents in the state of Texas, 8,300. So we're brokered by EXP. We're an international company. I'll put my information in the chat just as Raquel will. I am in the business of having conversations about real estate. People know that one way or the other, when they're talking to me, we're going to talk about real estate. I can help you buy, sell. We can work on land. Just small commercial is all I really want to take. I partner with Stuart Groves with EXP. We are moving on some really exciting things for 2022. We can sell all over the world. And how we do that is we connect you with another EXP agent in that area. And that's exciting. So we interact and we want this to be productive information for you. And at the end of this Community Connect Zoom call, we've got about 10 minutes of Q&A. We are totally real people and we want to help you. And if you have any suggestions, personal life and or any lifestyles that we can bring to you, let us move into our meeting and let us know about it. The first one that we did, I want to say the 1st of February or so, Charmaine, we've had 31 views. And then with Chris on home inspection, which Chris also does swimming pools. So I've got one coming up for an inspector to do a thorough job on swimming pools. Chris had several from even last week's view. So I would like to introduce my friend. This is Raquel with Ace Credit Counseling. She's going to help us with all of this. Credit is pretty tricky. Thank you, Raquel.
Thank you, Yvonne. Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Raquel de la Fuente. I'm with Ace Credit Consulting. I've been staring at credit reports for over 20 years. And prior to doing credit consulting, I was also still in the real estate industry doing lending and insurance. And I can see how they all play off of one another and go hand in hand. So primarily, we specialize in helping people become homeowners, but we also, help people with less than perfect credit, which I believe the count last year was 62 million Americans that had something wrong with their credit report. It's insane. So I want to talk about just a few different tips and tricks. And if you guys, again, have any questions, please feel free to raise a hand, throw it in the chat, contact me later. I've put my contact info in the chat as well. But I feel like the most important thing out of this call when talking to people about becoming homeowners, which we're all in the related field, or maybe you're watching because you want to purchase a home later this year. 2 tips I can give you. Number 1, Credit Karma is not a real credit score. Okay, it is a consumer-based credit report. Any credit report that you and I, as everyday people, can look at is not going to be at all a score that's related to what a lender will actually physically pull. Each of us as consumers, we have hundreds of different credit scores depending on who's pulling it for what. And so that leads into my tip number 2. Well, how do you know what your score is and how do you know if you're ready for a home loan? Look at the content that's on your credit report. When you're looking at your credit reports, do not pay attention to the scores again. I can't stress that enough. But look at the content of your credit report. What does that mean? That means, what are your credit card balances like right now? Are they maxed out or do they have a little bit of a baby balance on them? How widespread is your credit? Do you have a good spread of credit? Meaning for every installment loan, like your auto loans or your personal loans or your student loans, you're going to want to have a healthy mix of 2 to 3 revolving accounts on your credit to give it a healthy spread. That affects up to 80% of how your score is calculated. You'll also want to pay attention to if you've had any recent late payments in the last 12 to 24 months. Typically that hits you substantially harder And what's crazy about it, you guys, is if you have a perfect credit score and in the event life happens and you have a late payment, the bigger your credit score is, the harder it falls when you have that late payment too.
Good to know.
Another thing you want to look at lastly is going to be collection accounts. Do you have any charged off accounts, collection accounts, anything that's in a bad standing that's outstanding? And then how do you handle those as well so that they actually give you a credit score boost and don't harm you in the process? And so that's just a few things I wanted to get out front in the open, just about being a homeowner and looking at what you're ready and kind of tips to look for. Is there any questions thus far? Well, I must be doing a great job, so I'm going to keep going. Another thing too I want to talk about, it's our kids are about to graduate in 60 days. They're about to be released into the world, so to speak. And Yvonne and I were talking about it a little bit before the beginning of the call. What are we doing to set up our teenagers and our college kids so that they have a great credit score and we don't accumulate their debt in student loans or having to co-sign for them and so on and so forth? What are we doing to help them be responsible? Few tips and tricks of the trade. If your child is 18, you may add them as an authorized user to your credit card account. What that means for them is you don't have to give them a credit card. They don't have to make any payments or purchases. What they can do is you will call your credit card company, something that has a good balance and a good limit and a good history. Don't add them to anything that has a large balance or perhaps a late payment or bad history. But when you call the credit card company, what happens is that one credit card will report to their credit score and it will give them 90% of the time the entire history of the account. So what that means is if you have a child that's graduating this year, goodness gracious, that means they were born in, wow, 2004. I won't say where I was then. But in 2004. So let's say you have a credit card that's been established since 2005 or 2010. When it gives them the entire history of that account, not only does it give them the payment history, which is 35% of how your credit score is calculated, overall, the largest effective method, it also adds 30% to your available credit, showing that they do have revolving history. And then an additional 15% is added with the age of their credit history, because goodness gracious, they had credit when they were 1 or 2 or 5 now, they're outstanding. And so those 3 things are 80% of how your credit score is calculated. What you can do with that, I've seen a clean slate register no less than a 650 score with any revolving user account. And as a child, that's a good, I say 18 is a child, they're adults, right? They know everything. But as a child, that is huge, huge for them, because when you have a 650 anywhere up to a 733, I've seen it go that high as a credit score, they're going to get approved for that apartment without more than a 1-month deposit. They're not going to have to pay for utilities. They're not going to have you co-sign for their auto loan, and they should get the lowest interest rate available when you're going through your local banks or credit unions. All of these things, I can't tell you how many times I've seen parents co-sign for auto loans or student loans. Their child forgot to turn in the paperwork at the beginning of the semester, and then instead of having 1 late payment, they have 6 late payments. I mean, our kids are still learning, and if we haven't properly set them up financially and you're taking the hit for it, it's not a good picture. I've seen some things, you guys. Chris asked a question. Is it bad for your credit to close old revolving credit card accounts? I love that question, Chris. Thank you for asking. So yes, it is. We just talked about that 80%, your payment history, Your revolving availability on your credit cards is 30%, and then your age of your credit history is at 15%. So when you effectively close a credit card account, it negatively affects 80% of how your score is calculated because you've effectively shut all that off. The only circumstances in which I would recommend closing credit card accounts is going to be if you're divorcing someone and you're on a joint account. Yes, it may take a hit, and 9 out of 10 times it does. However, Raquel, being in this industry a long time, said she had seen some things. And I have, you guys, just because you're amicable on that mortgage loan or that auto loan or that joint credit card when you guys split up, doesn't mean you'll be amicable when one of you meets someone new or something else happens, right? And so, again, to stay ahead of this, yes, you may be married or you may want to help your child, but guys, honestly, I wouldn't co-sign for anybody, not even my own children, simply because you really shouldn't leave your financial livelihood in the hands of someone else when you're not in control of it, just because life happens. That's the name of the game. When you're in credit, life happens, things can happen. Talking about closing accounts with divorces, this is a very common question and myth and misconception I get, is about divorce decrees and who's responsible for the debt. And so you guys may have heard it or seen someone, my wife or my husband was awarded the house in the divorce. They're supposed to refinance it. It was awarded to them. So why is this affecting my credit when they're not paying it? Simply stated, whenever you co-sign for someone, the contract is there and the bottom line is the bottom line. The only circumstance in which you would not be responsible for that account is if it were either closed or refinanced. And so usually when you're going through the process of divorce, a lot of people aren't in the position to refinance these items because divorce is devastating, it's an emotional thing. Sometimes you just let things go, or so on and so forth. One example I could give, I had a gentleman and a wife who split amicably. She was awarded the home. 6 months later, he was engaged to someone else, and he was looking for a home with his new wife, or new fiance, I should say. The ex-wife started going 30, 60, 90 days late on the mortgage, and then would catch it back up. 30, 60, 90, catch it back up. As she did this for over a year and a half. I don't know that gentleman is in a home today. So co-signing, there's a lot more detail to keeping split finances or not co-signing. I could talk all day about it. But if you have any questions for you or your clients, again, my info's in the chat. Please feel free to reach out. Yvonne asked an awesome question. How long does it take to increase your credit score? About 10 points. What time period so we can suggest to our clients? So it depends, you guys. And I say that a lot in credit because credit reports are really like fingerprints. They're not one and the same. They don't coincide with one another. And so one thing I can tell you when it comes to increasing your credit score, 2 major factors that are applicable to anybody is going to be timing and resources. What I mean by that, looking for 10 points on your credit score, what is on that credit report? Do they have a higher credit card balance they can pay down to get there? Do they have a small collection account that they can do a payment for deletion for to increase that? Do they have access to an authorized user that could maybe give them a significant double-digit increase? Adding an authorized user account to most people's credit report when it has a higher credit availability or a longer history, I've seen it increase them no less than 15 to 20 points at a very minimum. I've seen it increase people 110 points. And so again, timing and resources. Are they able to pay down that balance? Is it the right time? Do they have that authorized user? Are they able to pay off that collection account? And everything in between. Are there inaccuracies on your credit report? Again, those 62 million Americans, there could be something that's wrong, that one deletion on your credit report could mean 20 points. It could mean 70 points. It's just a matter of what you're looking at and what the content looks like. That was an awesome question, Yvonne. Thank you. I want to leave this open for any questions or comments, or I see Stuart has his hand. Nope, that was my mouse on Stuart's face, not a hand raise. Sorry, Stuart. But does anybody have any questions right now or anything I can answer? Okay, I've got a comment in the chat here. Explain the difference between a credit score online versus an in real-time score. Very good, you guys. And so any score that you and I can look at, especially on a consumer report, guys, we've got access to like My FICO, Privacy Guard, Credit Karma, Experian, CreditWise, all these apps, right? All of these apps are either, they're not going to be using a lender-based credit score. What I mean by that, for example, to qualify for a home loan, there's some programs out there where you can be anywhere between a 580 and a 620 for an FHA, a first-time home buyer's loan, right? Now, your Credit Karma app or your Experian app may show you have a 670 score or like a 640 score, and then the lender actually pulls it and they're like, oh, you have a 545 or a 550 or whatever it may be. And you're like, what the heck is going on? And so our consumer-based scores have a different scoring algorithm than what a lender is going to use for a home loan. A different lender is going to use for an auto loan, different scoring model for credit cards. Guys, they even pull your credits for your job, homeowners insurance, auto insurance, utility companies, cell phone purchases, even to rent a car. They have their own credit scoring model. The lender scoring model is a 350 to an 844 credit score. If you go to rent a car, their credit scoring model is a 0 to a 999. So you could have like a 700 lender's credit score, and then when you go to rent a car and they give you your credit score, it's in the 560s, and you're like, oh my God, what happened? It happens, you guys. They're all going to be different. And so kind of what I was talking about earlier, the real-time score, we really aren't going to know it until whoever is going to pull it is going to pull it. There's no anything you or I can see out there that will show us what that score is, which is why it's important to look at your content again, credit card balances, history, late payments, collection accounts, charge-offs, student loans in good standing, you guys. Student loans, whenever you have a student loan, even if it's one semester or one payout, sometimes these itemize on your credit report as 3, 4, or 5 loans. And then what happens is when you miss that semester of paperwork, you've got 3, 4, or 5 late payments instead of 1 for one responsibility. And so all of these things are things that you just need to know to look for before you apply for something. I personally make sure my credit cards are at the perfect less than 10% balance, not at a 0 when I apply for anything. My credit report is frozen in the meantime, in between applying for things, because the main thing I can teach you about credit is that use it intentionally. Okay. Don't follow the Dave Ramsey philosophy that a credit score is a debt score. It's not a debt score when you're using it intentionally to build it to have the best credit score available in case life happens. What else do we have?
Raquel, we touched on kids, how to improve their credit score, not co-signing for them. We talked about adults on what we need to do to maintain our spending, because I remember years ago, I couldn't get a credit score unless I talked to the 3 major companies. You couldn't get that. It wasn't it's accessible online. And we talked to clients and they're like, yes, my credit score is, 760. They can get into a house. And then when it's pulled, it might not be that way. So I would like to refer them over to you without saying, you've got to sign up with us for 6 months. How can we overcome some of that with ACE Credit Counseling? How are you different when you consult with your clients?
Thank you for asking. That's a good question. The thing I tell everyone up front, you guys, is I'm not a magician. I don't have a magic wand. And anyone who tells you they're a magician and that they can clean your entire report, it's not accurate. So when I talk to you or a client, one thing I will say is there's going to be a detailed roadmap of instructions that is specific based on your credit report. It's tailor-made. One size does not fit all. We also have to build positive to counteract the negative. And what I mean by that, most credit companies out there are just delete, 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 and not much direction past that. There's more to it than that, which is why we don't drag things out. If we recognize you can pay down revolving balances, get an authorized user account, something that's suited in your ballpark, we want to make sure that you're okay with the details of the process before we take you on as a client, because we want this to be a success for you. We don't want you to waste your time and resources if it's not a good fit, or if we don't feel like we can get you to the score that we need to get you at. Sometimes timing is, like I said, everything. If you've had recent late payments or recent charge-offs or anything along those lines, sometimes we need to take a little bit of a pause. And so what I can say about my company is our audit method and our positive to counteract the negative is what's going to make your stay with us so much shorter than the average credit company who does a year with no end in sight. Our average turnaround time ideally is about 120 days right now. One size does not fit all. We have some people that it's going to take 6 months. So we are very transparent and candid about that all upfront, respectfully. Conversation is free. We don't charge to talk to you about your credit report or do a consultation or anything like that, because again, we want to make sure this is a good fit for you, first of all and most of all. I've been on the other side of this too. I was a client several centuries ago, it felt like, but I guarantee you my credit score was so much worse than anybody's you've ever seen. And I've seen a lot, you guys. Mine was like the top 10 worst. I'll admit it. I had 26 collection accounts. In 2005, I had a layoff, a divorce, and a major medical issue in a 4-month period.
Wow.
And so my life was ripped for me. And so I can tell you, being on the other side of this, it's hard to pick up the phone. I am stubborn and independent beyond all reason, more than anybody I know. But if I can do it, you can too, truly. If we tell you we can do it, it's matter of fact, as long as you follow the responsibilities we give you too, because we have to do this together.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Raquel. She can be reached at 469-217-9566, or you can email her at Raquel at acecreditcounseling.com. Sorry. It is in the chat, but somebody who might be watching can't get this. Anybody else have any questions? I think this is great for us to keep your card in our pocket to help all of us. All age, like you said, 4 months can really turn the world upside down. I just want to thank you so much for all of you for taking time out of your day. This is called Community Connect Zoom call. We're going to have different experts in the industry helping us make lives easier. Thumbs up for Raquel, which I appreciate her. She's been helping me get this all organized and get my flyer together and all that. Our next Zoom call will be on March 22nd, 10 a.m. A lot of us might know about it, and then we don't. So we're just going to put it together. It's going to be our Bailey Hefner with BBA Title. And who's responsible for paying that title insurance? And why do we have to pay it? And where can we go to pay it? And what takes place at that closing table? It's so nerve-wracking just because we've got our money going out and we're scared. It's nerve-wracking. So I'm looking forward to that one. Please put any comments, suggestions, text me, email me, whatever it may be. I want to wish you a happy, healthy, and safe home. And daylight savings time this Sunday. Yay, it's going to get warmer. And St. Patrick's Day is March 17th on Thursday. Remember, we're going to post these on Yvonne Rose's EXP Community Connect. We just want to keep it going. I'll have a builder. I'm planning on having a gentleman for fire extinguishers. I'm going to have a decorating. I am going to have somebody on insurance, kind of get these things that we're familiar with, and then get into paint. Spring has sprung, that kind of thing. Without anything else, I think we're done. Raquel, thank you very much for being my support.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Bye, y'all.